We're happy to have the Line Opinion panel back with us. We have a great panel this week. First, it's attorney Sophie Martin. Welcome to Sophie, of course. It's always great to see and hear from Michael Bird, a public health consultant and former president of the American Public Health Association. Many might not know that. And Merritt Allen from Vox Optima Public Relations. Glad to have all of you with us today. Now, there have been some significant developments in the governor's race over the last few weeks, like new ads from Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham and Republican nominee Mark Ronchetti, and a fresh look at who's leading fundraising. We'll get into all those things, but I want to start with the impact of a leading social issue right now, as you know, abortion. Unlike some states, the procedure is still legal and available in New Mexico for now. Now, with that in mind, Sophie, let me start with you. Do you think the issue will drive turnout the way Democrats are hoping? And I'm seeing this all over Facebook that this is the one issue that's going to turn out Democrats like crazy. Is that actually the case here?
I think actually that it will drive turnout, especially to the extent that the governor can make clear. Well, first of all, I think it's going to drive turnout in general because our communities are very focused on political issues, on the outcomes of elections, and that those outcomes have real meaning. And also, I think there's been a real turn toward, at least in the Democratic Party, a greater awareness amongst the electorate that local politics matter, that local decisions, especially with the Supreme Court and the Dobbs opinion, turning the question of abortion back to the states, local elections are going to be even more meaningful in the coming years. So yeah, I do think it will turn out voters for the Democrats and may also for Republicans as well. There's some polling that suggested that it might be more meaningful, more powerful for Democrats. But this is all going to hinge, I think, on the governor's ability and her focus on really demonstrating that the protections that she's been putting in place over the last couple of weeks for doctors, for patients, for individuals coming in from other states, to secure abortion services here, that these all ride on, at this moment, many of them on governor actions, on administrative actions, and are not necessarily cemented in our state laws. And so you get a new governor, you could get a totally different landscape in terms of some of these protections.
Good point there. Merritt, interesting point made by Sophie, but I have to ask, I'm a little bit curious. In many ways, it's a long way from July to November, but it's short, if you know what I mean here in political terms. Can she keep this going and others just keep things going all the way to November? And in fact, does it perhaps, as Sophie mentioned, help Republicans in some way as well?
Well, I think it's interesting that this is kind of coming to the forefront in the governor's race because, as Sophie pointed out, for local elections, it's much more impactful in legislative races because the governor does not, it's not the governor who writes with a pen a single pen stroke, abortion shall be illegal or illegal in the state of New Mexico. That would be the legislature. And so these ads we're seeing that the governor, the next governor, will have a say in abortion in New Mexico. I think that's terribly misleading in one of these third-party attack ads. It's actually the legislature. And as trends show, I don't see the legislature moving to any sort of Republican majority. So I don't think we're in any particular danger in New Mexico of abortion rights being severely diminished. I just don't see that happening.
How about Mr. Ronchetti, Merritt? Is this something he can throw over his hip, so to speak? Can he get out from under this? Because we're going to talk about this in a second. He's actually opened his, mouth on this a couple of times, and now he's trying to get out from under some things. Now that he gets some attack ads. Good.
He is very good at being very emphatic about the point he wants to make right now.
Right.
And the point he wants to make right now is some common sense limitations on procedure. 15 no restrictions up to 15 weeks, and then medically necessary or in cases of rape or incest. I think 80% of voters would go along with that.
Right.
Of course, it's a very common sense, middle of the road approach. In New Mexico, we have no restrictions whatsoever. So that would be a throttling back of some access, but I think very significant. It would be, maybe a handful of cases performed each year in New Mexico. I would say less than 10. So I don't see that as a significant reduction in access. But it's to the point. He is a very persuasive communicator and is able to make very emphatic points based on the talking point he wants to get across at the moment.
Michael, Sophie mentioned, and I mentioned in the governor's executive action on abortion rights at the top of the show, it protects women from prosecution if they come to New Mexico for reproductive care. This is clearly an issue the governor cares about, as Sophie articulated well, and this action has a practical impact. Could it have a political one too, proof that she's committed to this issue? Does this firm her up with the base and anybody else that's looking to vote for her?
Well, I think it does for her, and that's all part of, sort of. I think the state legislature, as well as because a year ago, Linda Lopez, the state senator, already was sponsoring some legislation to decriminalize abortion, so that would not be. So that providers would not be adversely impacted by providing abortion or abortion services. So I think that I think that's one point. I think the other point is New Mexico, as we all know, unfortunately, is a poor state, and so our poverty rates are high, and it has implications across the board in terms of healthcare, in terms of education, and everything else, and it is we are a minority majority state, so that I think clearly weighs into, because the abortion, the overturn by the Supreme Court of access and availability to abortion really significantly impacts women of color and poor women, and so I think that those communities, those populations and they've had access to it here in New Mexico. So it's not something you can just once somebody has it, it's more difficult to take it away. And we'll see how this plays out in terms of the Supreme Court going forward. That's
right. Sophie, interesting, there's a bit of a Twitter war erupting over a different ad. There's the one where against Mr. Ronchetti, says he is opposed to abortion, or is it at all stages, which he's fighting back, and Merrick just pointed out. But this one, Mr. Ronchetti calls embarrassingly fake. It features a Portales nurse who says she couldn't have graduated without the governor's opportunity scholarship. I'll let you get into some of the details if you'd like to, but essentially there was confusion over when the nurse was actually in school versus when the scholarship was first available. But the fact is she received some money and she graduated. Is this something voters will notice or remember, or is this just one of those technical little blips in the road here, just groping for an ad?
I frankly don't think it is something that voters will remember, at least not in a meaningful way. I do think that Mr. Ronchetti's supporters may continue to kind of latch onto it and use it as sort of a reminder of their own motivation or something like that. But I don't think that for the most part, Democratic voters are likely to care very much about this particular he said, she said. We do see there's at least one reporter who's saying, well, actually, I think that the details in this this ad are accurate, but that's not going to matter to Ronchetti supporters. So, this kind of squabbling might serve at some point to diminish the drive for particular voters who are like on the fence to go in and vote. But I think so far from the election, this is just, it's something to keep their names in the news, something to squabble over. I don't think it's going to have a big impact.
Good point there. Merritt, we've got to get this in. Fundraising will be a major factor this race, no doubt about it. In the latest report, Mr. Ronchetti pulled in about $450,000 more than the governor in that last reporting period, but the governor, of course, still has a major cash advantage. Will Mr. Ronchetti have to make up that gap to compete in November? I mean, it's about $1 million. That's a lot of money. Go buy a lot of TV, the gap. But what's your sense of that? I
think he will. I also think he can. He's his team is highly successful at fundraising. We saw this in Susana Martinez's 2 races. I don't think money is going to be a problem for Mark Ronchetti. I think the flavor of this race is going to be a race to the center, showing that the most popular issues, jobs, the economy, taxes, all the things that New Mexicans care the most about while disparaging the other candidates. So it's going to be a negative slugfest,
Right.
A race to the middle. I mean, if you'd asked Mark Ronchetti how he felt about abortion in March in the height of a highly partisan primary, we would have never heard what we're hearing right now. So if you'd asked Michelle Lujan Grisham in the Democratic primary in 2018 what she thought about cutting taxes, no, she would have never gone for a tax cut as she did in the 2022 legislative session. So both candidates have moved to the center. It's going to be very moderate politically on issues, but very nasty personally.
Hey, Michael, in the money chase here, Mr. Ronchetti's big donors were farmers, ranchers, and energy executives. No big surprise there. But the governor got big donations from the New Mexico tribal governments and a political action committee affiliated with PNM employees. Very interesting there. Does that say anything to you? Who's donating to who and why?
Well, for me, it's no surprise. I mean, it's kind of that's how things in New Mexico and tend to align anyway.
Yeah.
In terms of who do those interests represent, on both sides. And so it's I'm not surprised that the tribes are lining up, and I'm glad tribes are more engaged. They have and have been increasingly so. If we've forgotten about Gary Johnson in Indian gaming, it's a very quick history.
Please.
The tribes went to Bruce King, who was the incumbent governor, Democrat, and asked for his support for gaming. He refused to act on it. So, and I'm sure his assumption was, well, what are the tribes going to do? They're going to go support the Republican Johnson? They did. Guess what? He won. So I think there's growing and much needed in the state, greater visibility and economic and political influence that tribes did not have prior to gaming. And that's important for New Mexico, because the population in the community that continues to be marginalized and by any measure historically and to this date are native populations.
Good points there. Thank you to our Line Opinion panelists. We'll see you all back around the virtual roundtable in a little over 10 minutes to talk about that new research connecting heat waves and drought.